All right, it is the 2nd of July. It is a Wednesday. What's not to be happy about? Oh, pipes that, rub too close together over time and a pinhole develops and starts squirting water everywhere and you have to fix that. And the local places don't have the parts that you need, and so you have to order it through Amazon and then next day and then it gets here. Anyway, that's fixed. In addition to some other plumbing that I had to do to redirect and make things work a little bit better. But you know what? It's working. Just got to work through it. There were a few problems along the way, just like everything. However, you got to work through them and figure it out. A few cuss words, and then get back on track. So that's all done. Waiting for a phone call. Hopefully it doesn't interrupt this video. But I talked about yesterday how this next 6 months are going to be, I guess you could say, exciting. And what happens? July 1st hits, you're in the second half of the year, crypto starts to move up. I have not looked at the precious metals today. I just think that they are rolling us into a digital system, and they are going to, I guess you could say, bait you with those cryptocurrencies that are going to soak up the fiat dollars. That is an easy way out for them. It's much easier than starting a big war, having a big reset. You just transition it. Now, I could be totally wrong. There could be a big reset on Independence Day where the Fed gets ended and glorious sound money rolls back in, backed by something like gold, resources that we have in the ground here in the U.S. Do I think that's going to happen? Let me hang on. Most likely not. It's so hard to change the way things go. That bill hasn't passed yet, and Thomas Massey, always the stalwart, when it comes to fiscal responsibility, is holding out and says it's not going to pass the House. I would bet you that it does, and I'm not a betting man. Just from the standpoint of there's too much at stake. There's too much of the narrative that must be fulfilled. Just like the lady, I don't know, was it Murkowski? I don't know, the senator from Alaska yesterday, surprisingly voted for the big, beautiful bill because Alaska got some money. All you got to do is carve out a little bit and a little bit of handouts, a little bit of this and that, so that you can go home to your constituents on Independence Day and say, look what I got for you. Look what I've been working for you in Washington to get. It's not that hard to figure it out. People can be bought. Most people can be bought. Most all people can be bought at some price. And so, price of a cigar. Hang on. But I think it'll pass. You got your $5 trillion debt ceiling higher. There's more money in the system. Keep this perpetual Ponzi scheme going. That's just the nature of it until it changes. So I tend to think that it's going to continue the same way until it changes. And it hasn't changed yet. So, get used to it. I would get things now. I ordered something, that's coming today. That's the phone call I'm waiting for to get delivered. Just because I want to stock up on things while I can get them. And I think it's a very affordable price for what I'm getting right now and what it offers. So why not get it now? Because it's probably not going to be any cheaper later. And if it is, so be it. That's great. A deflationary situation is not a bad thing. It is for the fiat monetary system. However, for people like me and you, I don't think it's a bad thing. The cost of things going down. It's actually a pretty good thing. Your purchasing power is stronger. We've lived in a world where our purchasing power just gets weaker every year, every week. That's just how it is, week and week. It's weaker every week. Such is life, such is the nature of this scheme in which we find ourselves. I got a phone call from someone at work, a support person that's reaching out to me for some help with something, and said, I got a personal question for you. And the first words out of my mouth were, don't ask a question that you don't want the answer to. And I say that to anybody out there. If you don't want to hear the answer, don't ask me the question, okay? So given that little tidbit of advice, he asked about AI. He says, do you see AI replacing, you at some point? And I said, yeah, absolutely. What I do, I could train an AI agent to, it might take some time. The cost involved at this point, it may not be fluid enough, efficient enough, because, I do have a gregarious personality. And it's hard to replicate that with AI. However, with technology, this could all be fake. All could be AI. The background could be staged. Everything could look like me, talk like me. I don't think it could smell like me, especially right now after being out in this heat. but it can take over certain positions. And I told him, I said, I think I see mass dislocation. And I used examples of when I went to college. You go to the library, get a book, interlibrary loan if you don't have the book, do the research, read the book, write a paper. Now, AI agents can have access to all of the libraries in the world. Maybe not all, but a vast majority of the online resources. It can scrape all that and come back with an answer in seconds. It doesn't have to borrow the book. It just goes out and there it is, and makes a summation and arguments, points, basically in real time. Whereas, how long did it take you to do it? And so I see universities, because I started thinking about it. Universities. I told him, universities are in big trouble, because why do you need to go to a university when you've got access to all that information and it can be interpreted without the well, I shouldn't say that, without the bias of the professor. However, AI is biased, depending upon the programming. But, any professor that you've had, I've had professors. I had one woman in college that hated me because I rolled my eyes at her in class. I still got an A in the class. It was linguistics. But she didn't like me from the get-go. She was a new professor, and she's very left-leaning, I guess you could say. And, she made some comment, and, I was a little offended by it, and I just rolled my eyes. And she said, "Do you just roll your eyes?" I said, "Yeah, I did." And we kind of, had that little discussion. But I ended up getting along with her as it went on in the semester. However, she had her personal bias. I had my personal bias. When you're dealing with an AI, yeah, it might have some personal bias, but it's not going to affront you. It's not going to call you out for rolling your eyes, and it's not going to, affect you in a way such as that did. Physiology, physio something. Not a scientist. That was a linguistics class, and I can't even get my words straight. Learned a lot. Still got an A. So, why would you go to a university other than party, and network with other people? But you look at it now. How many people network? They don't network in person. You look at all of these festivals, events, things that used to be, gathering places for real human beings. So many people, they're on their phone all the time networking. I network all the time on my phone. That's how I met a lot of my greatest friends. The people I love, some more than others. And it's one of those things to where, as we progress with technology and use these tools, it's a different way to communicate. Yeah, can it be impersonal? Yeah, can it be dangerous? Yeah, can it strip away elements of humanity and human contact? However, change is, inevitable, and you have to be able to adapt and, innovate your way through it. Adapt is the most important thing, and not let it drive you crazy. Don't be a Luddite. Don't be, stuck in the old ways to where, this is the only way it's going to be. This is the way I'm going to do it. It's like the air conditioner just kicked on, the central air, and I'm thinking, how awful is it if you didn't have central air conditioning on these hot days with all this humidity? But people dealt with it, and a lot of people probably said, "I'm not buying an air conditioner," or "I'm not buying one of those TVs. I'm not buying a cell phone, a touch phone, and all that stuff. I'm keeping a flip phone," until they don't make them anymore. So you will be obsoleted out of things. And if you're fine with that, that's okay. However, technology does make life a lot easier when it works. When it doesn't work, it makes life really, really hard because you're not ready for that. You lose your phone, what do? You don't remember anybody's phone number. You don't remember probably don't even know your family members' phone numbers. It's in the phone. It's in your favorites. So we've lost that. We don't know how to do math anymore. The calculator does it. The AI is going to handle all this stuff. And as long as that works, that's wonderful. It used to be you had to fix your own stuff. I did my own plumbing today. Okay? I don't know anything about plumbing. I'm going to have to call a plumber. And a lot of people are that way. They have no tools, no skills to be able to do that stuff. However, there is still a need for plumbers to fix physical things, that don't work until we have robots. I'm sure that day is coming soon. But as we move forward, the technology will handle a lot of things. These cars, when you drive the cars, they'll keep you lane assist, they'll keep you in the lane. They'll beep, when you get too close to somebody. It's like, oh crap, quit looking at your phone while you're driving. But it's good to embrace those things, but realize, you know, that they can be used for enslavement. They can be used to for nefarious purposes, depending upon who's running it and programming it. I tend to think that's where it will ultimately head, because you've got people in control want to maintain control and want to maintain power. So any way that they can continue to do that, if they can track and trace and surveil, see where you're at all times, to them that's a good thing, you know, because it's all about maintaining the power, maintaining their lifestyle and their control. So I tend to think that that's the direction things go, just because, you know, and with technology it becomes amped up, Black Mirror type stuff. And so we have to realize that and not be afraid of that, you know, but be very cautious of that. Hope for the best and prepare for the worst. It's important to do that, and it's important not to deny change. And we all change. We should change. I mean, we should maintain our core existence and who we are and know what we're all about inside. But being able to adapt to the world, I mean, you have to be able to. I mean, you can't just think that it's going to go one way. You have to be prepared for, you know, that curveball that comes at you. Because you never know when it's going to happen and how you adjust to those things and how you react to those things. And you may not react in the best way. However, if you learn from it, next time you're going to react better. And that's the important thing. Change is here. It's coming rapidly. With this technology, it's going to accelerate, and it'll probably drive people mad, drive them crazy, because they won't be able to keep up. And, you know, that's kind of what happens. There will be some that can handle it, who will be able to adapt to it, be able to use it, yet still maintain who they are. There's a reason why I do videos out here. There's a reason why I am here, because I want to maintain who I am, because I know who I am. And, you know, it's very easy to be led down a different path and become something different that maybe you shouldn't be becoming. And so, you know, always stay grounded, always stay rooted, know who you are, trust your inner self, understand once you know who you are, then you can trust yourself. If you don't know who you are, then maybe you shouldn't trust yourself. But yeah, there's always that voice inside of you, that conscience, that compass, that you know who you are, and you need to be in touch with that, because a lot of things are going to be coming your way. A lot of things are going to be hitting us all. And, you know, look at it with, a comedic smile and eye, because you kind of have to laugh about some of this stuff, otherwise it'll drive you nuts. But I just think that we should realize that our lives in 5 years, 10 years for sure, are going to be totally different. And that may come as a culture shock. That may come as a systemic shock to a lot of people. But if you're aware of it, you can mitigate that. You can take steps to not let yourself get sucked into the vortex and not become too part of that and become part of the singularity. It's important to, I'm saying that a lot, it's important to. There's a lot of important things. It's important to, you know, ground yourself. Like right now, you know, I can't kick my leg that high. I'm like, got my bare feet, you know, on the ground. You know, stay grounded is really what it comes down to. Don't let the forces that are happening control you. Use them for how they benefit and serve you. And don't become a slave to, the technocracy. It's not a good thing. Now, does that mean we shouldn't be using digital money? We should protest that? I don't think so. Again, there are good forms of digital money, and there are a lot of bad forms of digital money. The CBDCs, you know, everybody shot that down. Now it's stable coins, and they'll have legislation on that coming out very soon. They keep talking about it. But stable coins are nothing different than a CBDC. It can be programmed. You can have timers on it, limitations as far as what you can spend. If you're not the right weight, you don't get to, get the fries or the milkshake. You don't, if your social credit score is too low, then you don't get to take the elevator. You get to take the escalator. Or if it's too low, you get to take the stairs. Or if it's too low, the doors don't open and you can't even get in the building. I mean, that's the kind of thing that can happen when everything is digital and everything is electronically controlled. programmatically controlled. There was a good instance of, I have a friend, Mark. He was flying back after this event, or thought he was flying back, and then, he came back and had to rent a car, for one day. They wouldn't let him rent a car because they wanted 2 forms of ID because he happens to be in Puerto Rico and doesn't have a problem. He can fly. He's got the little gold star on the license, but that wasn't enough. And they couldn't override it because the system said, the computer said, I need 2 forms of ID for this person. There's nothing they could do. They couldn't process the order. So, it didn't work out. I couldn't rent a car. Ended up being a better scenario. But see, that's the thing. You can get upset by it and say, this is ridiculous. This is BS. Why is this happening to me? Why is this, And then it turns out that it actually worked out better, that he couldn't get the car. The Uber ride was cheaper and he saved some money. So we can get angry about this stuff, or we can take another path. Be like water is really what it comes down to. Water always wins, always finds a way. Trust me, I've been dealing with it today in pipes and things that leak. Water will always win. It just does. It will find a way if there is a way. And to me, my outlook on things, there's always a way. If the dam blocks up, it can overflow and create a new stream. There's always a path forward, and you may not see it. You may think that you're stonewalled. You may think you've hit the brick wall, but there's always a way through. I mean, mice, look at them. They always find a way. There's always a way. And so have that in mind, that as hard as things get and as difficult as things get, we all go through a struggle, that, maybe it's meant to be that way. Maybe it's there to teach you a lesson. Maybe, the struggle that you're going through is necessary to help you to become a better person, because I think that's why we're here. I think we're here to have the experience to, how shall I say it? Fine-tune our souls. And I really think that's why we're here. This is a playground for the soul to, test out things and learn things and accomplish things. And you came here with a mission, and you can put it off, you can procrastinate, but it's better off just to do it. And once you do that, you become a more fulfilled person, and you add more of the ribbons and the badges, to the soul contract, I guess you could say, or the soul path, the soul journey. Don't look at things in a negative way. Look at them in a positive way of, what am I supposed to learn by this? What am I supposed to gain by this? How is this helping me to become better? And, you can keep shooting yourself in the foot. You can keep tripping along, because you can't tie your shoe. Not that anybody does that anymore. Or you can learn to tie your shoe, and it's important to take life for what it is, adapt to it, and get better and become better. And I think you'll be a much happier person. I know I am. I know I used to get upset by things very easily, and is it worth it? It's really not worth it anymore. I know people that just laugh at stuff. My mom does that. She'll, something happens, she'll laugh at it, and Dad might get angry. It's just kind of funny. And I'm kind of both. I've been through both of those things, and I'm leaning more towards it's easier to laugh at it, and it's better to laugh at it than get angry about it, because then that raises your blood pressure. It's not good for your heart. The tension, that's not healthy. It's not good for you. It's stressful. Stress is a killer. So it's better to really just laugh it off. I mean, really. And so, take those opportunities as moments of comedy from the universe, when things happen to you that you don't expect. Learn to laugh about it, and then move on and learn from it. So, I don't know. I don't want to get all philosophical on you. Not that I really am. But, no, I just, had some thoughts. Some things happened today, and I thought I'd come out here. It's a beautiful day. A little humid. A little more than yesterday. It's going to get really hot this weekend. It's going to be hot. We're coming in hot. But we've got our Independence Day when it was declared in 1776, July 4th, and we're going to celebrate that with fireworks as usual. I'm not going to. I'll be doing a live happy hour, I think. I don't think Lisa is going to go out and watch fireworks. The lovely Litecoin Lisa. So I haven't asked her yet, but I'm pretty sure we'll do a happy hour. And then I'll absolutely do a spaces afterwards for anyone, you know, all the homebodies that don't like to go see the fireworks. Big crowds, things that explode, lots of alcohol. Probably not a good mix. I'll stick around here. I can see them from, you know, the different towns. You know, I can watch them, you know, in the distance. So that's good enough for me. That's close enough for me. So I hope you all have a great day. I really do. Take it in stride. If something's coming at you, you know, dodge it, you know, and if you get hit with it, just laugh about it and say, why did I get hit with it? You know, maybe I shouldn't have taken that path. Maybe I'll take a different one, or maybe I'll get more flexible and learn to dodge, but adapt. That's the most important thing. Adapt and overcome is really what we're here to do. Learn from our mistakes. Don't make them again. Internalize those things. And what's the lesson that's being taught? Because the universe is always teaching us lessons. Always teaching us lessons. Learn them. Makes life better. And laugh at it when, you know, there's nothing you can do about it. That's all you can do. Make a joke out of it. I always thought, you know, I'm somebody's entertainment, you know, so maybe I should find the little things that come at me as entertaining, right? Okay, I love you all. I really do. Hope you have a wonderful day, and we'll see what happens. Maybe if I'm in the mood, I'll make a video tomorrow. If I'm not, then I won't. But definitely on Friday, tune in for happy hour with the lovely Litecoin Lisa around 5:30-ish Central Time on Independence Day. Should be a firecracker of a show. And then spaces later. And you never know. I may celebrate and crack a beer. We'll see. Kind of detoxing now for the last week and a half. I don't know. I feel pretty good. Yeah. All right. Have a wonderful day. I love you all. Trust yourselves. You got it inside of you. You came here for a reason. Learn those lessons. Fulfill that mission. All right.